So, all right. So we're now recording. So let's actually go ahead and start off. John, I think since you're the oldest, you better lead us and guide us in introducing ourselves.
Oh boy, that's a bad idea. I'm John Russell. I am the oldest of the Russell children. There are 10 of us. Somebody's going to say that and explain and introduce everybody better than I will, but I will just say I'm John Russell. We live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a surgeon. I worked at Johns Hopkins for 10 years before just very recently starting my own practice, which I should give a shameless plug for right now, but it might be called the Russell Center for Endocrine Health. But anyways, that just started. I am, what else can I say about me? I have three kids. Married my wife who went to BYU and then was able to pull her away. We ended up both graduating from Arizona State University before moving to Cleveland for medical school and then other medical training. Um, our oldest is at BYU. It's Lexi, and then I have a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, and that's that's us. What else should I say?
Well, you said today was your anniversary. So what was it
Oh yeah.
to say about that?
Yeah. So today Natalie and I celebrate 21 years and we do it in official we've been married a long time style because she is out dropping off Lexi at BYU. And I am here taking care of boys. It's interesting. BYU does this really great thing. I don't know if you guys knew this, but if you have BYU employment, you go back to school. Maybe if we're trying to be on this podcast, we shouldn't say this as part of the, but they have a week where if you're employed as part of BYU, you have to go back and get trained for a week before the campus opens up, which means there is no housing for a week. And so anybody it's the couch surfing week. You have to find somebody who has a year-long lease, or you have to have family close by, or in our case, Natalie went back there and is renting a hotel for a week so that Lexi is able to do her training so she can have a job next semester. So there you go. I think that's brilliant.
Awesome, awesome. Well, happy anniversary again. Jen, you are officially older than me. We'll say it that way. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself?
That's rude. But um, okay, Jenny, I am child number 5 of 10. I'm also the favorite because mom and dad moved to Rexburg to join us. We've been in Rexburg, Idaho, my husband Sean and I we've been married 17 years, and most of those years have been spent here in Rexburg. He teaches at BYU, Idaho. I teach at South Fork Elementary, and I'll put a shameless plug in. Never be a fourth grader. It's hard. And 9 and 10-year-olds are great. They're fun, but whew, I wish I could have been a surgeon. But we have been married 17 years. We've got 6 kids. We have 5 boys and a girl. Our oldest is going to be a sophomore this year, and our youngest is going to be in second grade. I have been a stay-at-home mom for a lot of years, but had those little prickings a couple years ago that I needed to go back. Never ever wanted to teach. Never thought it was going to be something I wanted to do. But here I am, fourth grade. Never thought I wanted to live somewhere it snows, but here we are, Rexburg. It's been great. We love it. We love where we live. Yeah, that's about
So,
it, I guess.
so Jen, actually celebrated your anniversary. What was it, last week or the week before?
Last week. Yep.
So I don't know what it is about August in our family, but I think all
It's
three of us have wedding anniversaries this month. So
it's when school is out for Rexburg. Sean's on his 7 week break. And so it's just kind of this time when in Rexburg, the students all go back home and we have this beautiful one. Well, it's sad. We all miss the students. The roads are clear. So we can do fun
well,
things like married.
I guess not everybody can go to BYU Provo or something like that. So we have to make do.
And we
But
actually have housing for our student employees here. So, they don't have to hunt and gather. Poor Lexi.
anyway, um, okay, and I guess it is my turn. So, Jenny, you said that you're the favorite child. That's okay. I am the perfect child. I'm child number 7. So, like John said, there are 10 of us altogether. But I think with me, I am kind of the odd man out because between me and the next oldest, which is between Jenny and myself, Tyler, there's a 4 years age gap, and then between me and the next youngest, there's a 6 years age gap. So I can say that I've had a turn being the youngest, the middle, and the oldest. So quite interesting on that one. Like I said, I also am celebrating my anniversary this month with my wife Fernanda. She is a convert to the church. She actually is from Mexico, so we had quite a bit of struggles with immigration trying to get her into the United States finally. But we finally were able to get her over here. Now we're located in Texas. Uh, Aside from that, right there, we also are about to welcome our first baby. We struggled with infertility for about 6 years now. So finally able to welcome our first kid, a little boy. So we're excited about that right there. So that's a little bit about the Russells. And
Well, at least one of the three of us is interesting.
well, I mean, at least I'm the only one that's not doing a shameless plug for something. Or
Well, no, for now. For now, you're going to tell us about your landscaping business before too long.
oh no, heavens forbid. So anyway, about the topic at hand that we have decided to talk a little bit about. And Jenny, you were the one who felt more strongly about it. So why don't I let you go ahead and introduce it?
Okay. Well, the topic that we decided was topic number 2, which was um, how do you engage your family in building up others in your church and your community? I think the reason I was drawn to this one is we've had a little bit of interesting um, dynamics with this. With graduate schools, we lived in Washington State and we've lived in California for a little while doing graduate degrees for my husband as we were doing that with a young family. We had our second oldest was actually born 3 days after Sean and I both graduated from BYU Idaho. So we didn't, we had our kids, we had our family as we were young and poor and starving college kids. And having lived in those kinds of places where the church wasn't as strong as it is in Rexburg, the membership isn't over a larger geographical area. It really, I'm sure, yeah, John, I bet you really feel like this. It means a lot more when you say like your ward family. Like I feel like you really lean on each other for a lot of things and you really come to love each other more. When we moved back to Rexburg our last time about 10 years ago, it was really challenging feeling like we went from this place where my husband was, the ward elders quorum president, and I was in 3 different callings, and we were really wanted and needed in this ward. And we felt really supported coming to Rexburg, where it was, you are a small little fish in a giant ocean of people who are incredibly competent, capable, wanting to serve, wanting to help. And we had a hard time feeling, I don't know, needed in our ward. That was challenging. And then I feel like we've gone through phases in our marriage of feeling almost like, oh my gosh, why do we have to give so much in our ward, to going to, I want to give more in our ward. And most recently in our family, we have been building a house. And so we're living in this beautiful 1,800 square foot townhouse right now with 8 people and 2 dogs. And it's so fun. We love it. We hate it actually. But our first Sunday in our new ward that we're building our home in was also my husband's first Sunday as a YSA bishop up on campus. And so we go to church, and our second Sunday there, it's me and all 6 of our kids. And unfortunately, our schedules don't align that we can go together. And one of the members of our congregation said, "Oh, you're the new single mom." And I looked at my oldest, who's almost 16, and I was like, yeah, I am a single mom. Yep, it sucks. And somebody was just like, "Oh, so your husband's inactive?" I'm like, pretty much, yeah, he's inactive. He's dead to me. It's hard feeling like, how do you help your family and your kids to be engaged when I feel like it ebbs and flows almost? Does that make sense? I don't know. I know, first world problems. I live in beautiful Rexburg where there's so many people and so many wonderful members of my ward.
Can I just say, right when you were talking about your husband being less active and stuff like that, it reminded me of my mission president. Whenever he would finally get the chance to go to his home ward, he would go up to the missionaries and say, "Oh, there's your most active, less active is finally here at church today." So,
Seriously though.
yeah. But John, I think you can actually bring a interesting perspective to this right here. And actually, even kind of talking with that a little bit more with Jenny, I mean, Rexburg, you and also in Maryland, you guys got literal experts in your field. And so a lot of competent people surround you guys. But at the same time, I mean, how do you bring your family? How are you able to kind of connect and assist and things like that?
Well, it's tough. I mean, So there was a period where I went to church with the family twice in a year, and Natalie got asked the same thing all the time because between callings and work, it was, and so I think my home ward, I went there twice, and anyways, so yeah, I totally get that. It's it's tough, you know. I There's also this juxtaposition. So Natalie, my wife, and I sometimes are a little bit see this a little bit differently. Like for me, it's easy to look outside of the home and say, "Oh, we have to do service, we have to do this, we have to do that." And for Natalie, Natalie is always kind of reminding me of, "Hey, your first service is to your own kids, and if you haven't been home this week, then guess what? Home teaching or ministering, as we call it now, or whatever else it is, maybe I don't know." So yeah, and so a lot of our service happens really organically, um, and sometimes I feel guilty about it because I feel like there's other things that we could do, and Natalie will does a good job of keeping me grounded on all of that and reminding me, hey, you're doing service and all of these other things that you're doing. Um, I don't know. That's that's something that we talk about actually quite a bit around here.
So let me actually go ahead and ask this, and this is kind of more towards both of you. But before I do, let me kind of give a little bit of background as to why I'm asking this right here. So, kind of like what I said before, Maryland, I mean, you literally have very smart individuals right there close by because it's right next to Washington, D.C. So, because of that, you're able to go ahead and get some of the best close by. Versus Rexburg as well. I mean, that's BYU Idaho. You got almost the cream of the crop when it comes to church. Like you have smart individuals like the Irings and the Bednars who were there at BYU Idaho and stuff like that. And they also got to choose a bunch of different people who work there. Versus here in where I live, Texas, it's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. You get all sorts of people. We got people who are coming um, out of the country, coming into the United States. We also got a lot of people who have lived here for basically generations, and you got a really mixed bag. And so for us here, it seems like there's a lot more of a need, and not only of a need, but also it's so easy to see where the fires are to go ahead and put them out. And so I guess kind of one of the biggest questions that I have for you guys is being in those areas where there's a lot of smart individuals, capable individuals, how are you guys able to see the needs of other people, and how are you able to kind of guide your children or even teach your children about serving those people?
I yeah, I think there's a lot of great people here, and there's a lot of great people in Rexburg. But I know half of our ward is inner city Baltimore, and it, on our mantle, it's over there. I would show you, except for it's really dirty. We have we have a cross that Natalie's one of the sisters that Natalie's has ministered to for a while, like just decided Natalie drives her to church every once in a while, decided I want to give this to Natalie, and she gave her a beautiful crystal cross. And she's been a member for 30 or 40 years herself, but she's in the inner city, and so we walk home and I'm in the stake presidency and we've got a big crystal cross like sitting on our mantle, and so I think one of the really nice things about the church is that you run into people that you wouldn't normally hang out with. And I think I would say, at least outside of the Mountain West, where we go from inner city Baltimore all the way up to the Pennsylvania border is our ward. And we've got a lot of territory in there and a lot of people, and we get lots of opportunities to serve. There are some really great people, and there's lots of opportunities to serve all of those people.
I think it's a little interesting. I don't know. I love that idea of the ministering and how it looks different. I feel like the thing I'm always telling my kids as we're getting ready to start school on Monday is you get out what you put in. That's a super cliche kind of thing to say, but you get out what you put in. And I've really been thinking about Elder Uchtdorf's talk as the Lift Where You Stand talk this week, as we've been doing this and as we've been talking and Come Follow Me about, we're just going to start talking about the Stripling Warriors, which is my favorite because I mean, who doesn't love a story about moms and boys, right? But I love this idea of a family home life that was, for most of them, was really difficult. It was really, really hard. And it didn't look like the perfect home. It didn't look like the ideal, and people just doing the best they could with the circumstances they had. One thing, Derek, I was going to tease you about a little bit when you're introducing and talking about how you're the oldest, youngest, middle, and you are. And I was going to say, it's kind of funny. Our family has, because we have twin adopted brothers at the end, that we've got two different families. We joke about it. I don't know if you guys joke about it. We middle kids that are cool joke about it. Derek, you're kind of a middle kid, but we joke about how we have two families and how it's two very different dynamics. And with the complications of, not complications, with the reason the twins were adopted and the way that that came to pass, our family had to move from Arizona to Seattle my junior year of high school. And thinking about the transition, how different that is for families too. And the importance of ministering in your home. I love what you were saying, John, that Nat always says, like, are you serving in your home? Because if you're not, then you're not doing your biggest calling. And I think that that's a huge part of, I don't know, lifting where you stand, ministering. Even if it doesn't look perfect, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to make it good? How are you going to make it work? How are you going to serve somebody else? So maybe it's a crystal cross. I don't know. I should invest in one.
It's really pretty.
Conversation started.
Derek, how about you? What's
I'm curious, Derek. Let's hear
what's
it.
the answer?
Oh, well, by my vast stores of knowledge in the whole.
Hey, you're the family psychiatrist. Let's go.
Okay.
That's right.
So
Right.
yes, I did study marriage and family at BYU Idaho, but that does not mean that I constantly on a day-to-day basis read everything about it. So I am a little out of practice on that right there. However, what I will say, it is interesting, kind of, yes, you are definitely correct in that there are two different family dynamics. And so guilty by association of being a middle child, I guess it's definitely was interesting kind of seeing that change and seeing all those different things happen. Not only just the dramatic culture shift of not only our family picking up and moving from Arizona to Washington, but then also kind of like what you said. I mean, essentially, that's when all the older kids started to leave. That's when everything kind of shifted. And so,
can you just go back to the part where you said I was right? Because I don't think I've ever heard you say that before. So
it's a good thing this is recorded because you won't ever get to hear that again. But essentially, another big thing as well is that, you know, you guys definitely touched on a lot of good points about, you know, trying to find the best way of reaching out. And, you know, it's kind of, it reminds me a lot of when Fernanda was in Mexico and I was here in the United States. And so you could go ahead and you could turn inward of, oh my gosh, life is so hard. Everything is so difficult. Woe is me. I mean, at the time, especially, I was finishing up my bachelor's degree. I was working full time. I even was doing early morning seminary. I was dead. And I, so often than not, I was so tempted to be like, no, life is just crazy right now. But essentially, kind of what you guys were talking about, that essence of looking outward instead of looking inward, which is essentially the gospel itself, of always focusing on, yeah, my life's rough, but I mean, who doesn't have a rough life? And so just that idea of, you know what, we need to go ahead and focus on those individuals who are having a harder time than me, and maybe just kind of like you said, lift where we stand. And I mean, you guys have kids. I am about to welcome my first kid. And so what is, congratulations, what is probably the hardest thing that you guys have had to do, kind of instilling those values into your kids?
TBD. It's all
Yeah.
hard. It's all good.
Check back in 40 years and I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I think it's kind of lift where you stand and kind of just, I don't remember who said it, but somebody said this thing a while ago about how it was one of the prophets. And if I was really good, I would remember it. But said that our lot in life of the people that we're able to help are the people that we run into every minute, right? Like the person that you see in the elevator, the person that's walking past you on the street, like those, that's the chance that you have to actually help and bless other people. And I am guilty always of kind of like looking, like saying, oh, well, let's do this grand gesture. Um, I've been trying to like stop a little bit more and say, hey, you know, should I say hi to the person? There was, again, there was this great conference talk, right? The one about the woman who felt like she needed to put her phone away, and she talked to the man whose cat was, it was his birthday, and his cat, and there was a storm. And yeah, I, I kind of feel like more and more, I feel like that's my chance to have an impact on the world, is probably just through really dumb small things instead of actually doing anything great. I don't know. That's not going to win us. That's not going to get us first place on this podcast, though, which is really the goal. Russells don't come in second.
And we're not competitive at all.
Except for when we do.
But, you know, it's kind of interesting. I'm sorry. Good thing Fernanda's not listening, because I'm going to tell the story about her. There's a cousin that she has who recently, from some sort of circumstance, lent Fernanda a ring that was kind of a good luck charm for them. And the joke was running in their family that if I give you the ring, you find your husband. And so Fernanda got the ring, and then the month that she got the ring, we ended up meeting and we ended up talking. And so she gave the ring to her sister, and same story, like within the next little bit, you know, stuff happened over there. And so long story short, all of her sisters had a wonderful experience with the ring. But at the same time, somehow, some way, that ring ended up.
Derek, hold on. Does that make you feel like the fact that your marriage is all founded on a ring, like, does it make you like question the whole foundation of everything?
I was gonna say, was she just desperate? She had to prove the ring right, because
No,
like,
it makes.
I mean, you're attached, right? But
it makes me feel precious more than anything else.
Oh,
Yes.
there you go.
Is it like Cracker Jack bucks?
I see what you did there. All right, keep going. Sorry to interrupt.
I'm sorry, Lord of the Rings fan. I'm sorry, gotta do it.
How come you haven't told us that story before? Did you tell us that story before?
I've heard it.
This is more of a Fernanda story because there's more to it, which I'm actually getting to right now. So long story short, the ring ends up getting lost because her sisters are moving out of the house. They place it somewhere, something happens.
And now nobody's
Their
gonna
cousin comes back, and I mean, she wants to have the lucky ring. And so with that right there, I mean, her family like, hey, we lost it. I'm so sorry. It was worth a lot, you know, of value because of the value we put in it, but at the same time, we don't know where it is. So good people we want to go ahead and, you know, replace it for you. How much was the ring worth? And that sparked a really interesting debate between Fernanda and her cousin. Her cousin was saying, oh, it was worth $400. And Fernanda's like, no way in heck is that worth that much money. Because first off, it's not a valuable material. Second off, I mean, yes.
Fernanda doesn't think your marriage is worth $400?
Don't ask her how much we paid for her ring. So that's.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, but long story short, it sparked off this debate of how much is the ring worth. And so kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, you know, the small, stupid things actually do end up meaning the most. I mean, we look at the stuff we have inside our house.
Scripture about that somewhere. I don't know.
I know, right?
If only.
Jen, you're the daughter of a seminary teacher. You should know where that is.
It's true. I'm a 3767.
All right, at least.
That's really cool though.
Bravo.
That's
so this was supposed to be a 15-minute thing, right?
We went over, indeed. So with that right there, should we just go ahead and